All right, so I got all the ingredients lined out here. I'm just go through each one so you know what to get. What you need is you need some beeswax, white or yellow, it doesn't matter. You need castor oil. Black castor oil is best, but I don't have any, so I'm using regular castor oil. You also need a thin oil, jojoba oil, which is what I'm using. You need some olive oil. You also need some coconut oil, and you need your essential oils. For today's pomade, I'm using bergamot and ylang because I really like the scent. You need something to measure your liquids with, so I'm using a 100 milliliter beaker, plus you need a spoon. I'm using a silicone spatula. Make sure the bowl is heat conductive because you're going to be using it for the double boiler. You obviously need something to put the pomade in, so I'm using a little container here. What you want to do is get a small pot, fill it halfway with water, go ahead and turn the fire on and bring it to a rolling boil. Once it gets to a boil, go ahead and take the beeswax, put it inside of the bowl, put the bowl on top of the pot, and you'll get the beeswax to start melting almost immediately. While that's happening, you can go ahead and measure out your liquid oils. So what I'm going to measure out is 20 milliliters of jojoba oil, 10 milliliters of castor oil. This is really thick stuff, so it might take a little bit to get in. And also be careful with how much you use because castor oil has a really strong smell. So if you use too much, it's really gonna overpower the essential oils and just not be a great smell. You also wanna measure out 1 tablespoon of olive oil. And then as far as the coconut oil goes, coconut oil is solid at room temperature. So what you wanna do is you get about a teaspoon and you wanna drop it into the bowl with the beeswax while it's on the double boiler, and just go start stirring it to let it incorporate. It'll start melting almost immediately. Off camera, I already added my liquid oils and I took the bowl off the fire. I'm going to put in my essential oils. I already put in the bergamot oil, 10 drops off camera, but I'm gonna go ahead and put the 3 drops of ylang. Notice that the pomade is starting to cool off really fast, and that's what you wanna do is just take the double boiler bowl and put it back on the fire, and it'll melt almost immediately again. Once it turns into a liquid, you can go ahead and start incorporating all of the things together. Make sure you stir it really well to get those essential oils mixed in. And then take it off the fire and let it sit there, and it'll start turning translucent again. From that point, you have 2 choices. You can just pour it directly into the container itself and let it cool completely, or you can go with the whipped method, which is what I'm gonna show you here. I prefer whipping my pomades with the spatula to add some air into the mixture because it creates more of like a fluffy mayonnaise type of texture, which I prefer. There's really no difference per se. It scoops out much easier. You'll start noticing that it just turns like really, really light and fluffy. And at that point, go ahead and scoop it into your container. You can tap the container a few times on the counter to kind of level out the pomade if you want to. You see it's a nice creamy ivory color. And you can see here, I go ahead and scoop some of it out. The consistency is really nice. I can rub it on my fingers and it turns liquid almost immediately with my body heat, which is really, really good when it comes to like rubbing it into your scalp and getting it on your hair. And it smells great. You can put it here next to the non-whipped pomade. You can see the difference, but they're essentially the same thing, guys. It's just whatever is convenient for you or whatever you prefer.